Have you ever wondered how someone becomes a comic book artist? Hi, I'm Adrian, and today I have a very special guest, Ben Day. He is an artist who has worked on Teen Titans, Sonic, and Mega Man. In this interview, Ben talks about his story, the challenges he faces, and his advice for people who want to work in comics. Thank you so much to Ben for taking the time to be here. You can find his work on Instagram and Etsy. The links are in the description. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Let's start.
Okay, let's see here. What inspired you to become a comic book artist? I would say that I always loved comics as a kid, but I started to get into manga at a young age, and I didn't think that I would be a comic book artist because I didn't want to draw what I perceived to be the American mainstream style, which is a little bit more realistic. And then for years, I just kind of flailed, and finally I remembered that the Sonic comics existed, and I was like, oh, that actually could fit more my, more cartoony, not really having to draw the realism stuff. And that's when it really clicked that I could be an American comic book artist, and then jumping from Sonic to Mega Man to ultimately Teen Titans. All right. What was number two? What was the most challenging part of working on Teen Titans? That was definitely the format that they hired me to work on was both print and digital. Like DC had launched this app or some kind of service called DC Squared. I don't know if they're still doing that. But the idea was I, the artist, would have to, when I did layouts, I would design the usual layout, which would be for a print, the physical version of the comic book. And then that same layout would have to work inside the DC Squared app. And that was where it would have these additional panels or added elements. And so a simple example was in the very first story I worked on, Cyborg is crying. And so then he turns around and he's angry at the other Teen Titans, and he has all these guns that pop out of his shoulders. So in the print version, it's just the guns popping out of the shoulders version, I believe. But in the DC Squared version, I had to draw a version where he's crying and he's got his back turned, and then you swipe or tap or however it worked, and then the guns part would come out. And so having to make a plan for two versions of a comic at the same time was definitely the hardest part. Number three, do you have a favorite character to draw and why? Yes, my favorite character out of the Teen Titans is Cyborg, and so he is the funnest to draw because I like him the most. But I also really like Robin, or at least I like to draw Robin. When I first got the job or was applying for the job, I don't think I have this art anymore, but you have to send samples to prove that you could draw the characters in the style that they want. And I'm pretty sure I drew just 5 different Robins doing a bunch of fun cartoony stuff. I took inspiration from Ren and Stimpy. There's an episode where I think it's Stimpy's invention, and he puts this helmet onto Ren, and one of the sequences Ren says the word go, and his mouth forms more of an O shape, and the word go is inside of it. And so I definitely did that for Teen Titans Go, and had Robin do the same thing. So Robin was a lot of fun to draw for whatever reason as well. What advice would you give to young creators who want to work in comics someday? Okay, so I was just saying, for me, who didn't think I would work in comics because I didn't understand. I liked manga. I didn't really like the way American comic books looked. The first thing you got to do is decide what you're going to do, who you're going to be, what matters to you, right? And then put a lot of focus into that specific direction. So first and foremost, if you like manga, then find if there are any comic books out there that you could actually work on in an American audience. Secondly, if you're like me, I always wanted to write and draw my own stories, which is, I think, why I was so attracted to manga. And then I got hired to just be a penciler initially. I did work my way up where I was pencil inking, coloring all my comic books in American stuff. But it made me really unhappy because I'm somebody who wants to write and draw my own stories. I wasn't happy to be confined into just this one role. And so part of what you want to do if you're going to work in comics is really figure out, like, are you somebody who just wants to draw or just color or just letter, and focus on just that. And there's no like shame and there's no judgment. Like, you just need to decide clearly what you are. I've met plenty of guys who just, all they care about is drawing. They never want to write their own story. They don't create their own characters. They just like drawing. And that's fine. And so just know that about yourself. And if you're not that, if you're like me and you want to write and draw your own stories, then write and draw your own stories. Like, try to pitch that from the very beginning. The comic book industry has changed, thankfully, where a lot more writer-artists are capable of getting their start, you know, doing their own stories right from the beginning, whether that be creator-owned or for, you know, like, Spider-Man needs stories. Hellboy needs, well, I guess Hellboy is largely written by Mike Mignola, but you see the point. Like, all these comic books that are long-running, they need stories. And you can pitch just like any other writer, even if, you know, if you can draw them yourself, you're one step up. You got one leg up on the competition. Number 5, is there a project you're excited about right now that fans should look forward to? Oh yeah, okay, so I came back to comic books for the first time in a long time and just completed issue 5 of IDW's Ninja Turtle Battle Nexus series. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and I think that that'll come out sometime in April or May of next year. So if you like the Ninja Turtle stuff, there's that. And then in my own creations, I did my own graphic novel. It's a kid's graphic novel about superpowered cavemen battling alien dinosaurs. It's called Power Stars. It's volume 1 of 3. I just did this for my own need, my own satisfaction. And if you want to read that, you can buy it on my Etsy shop. I just opened up an Etsy shop to sell prints and this particular story. It's Ben Bates art, simple enough. And I'm currently working on another story of my own. So Power Stars is an all-ages graphic novel, and I'm moving into a horror storyline that I just got started with, and you can see some of the development art for that. It's about a Candyland that becomes corrupted, and 2 kids are trying to find their way safely through this darkness. And that's it. Ben Bates art on Instagram. You can see some of the concept art and the development and things like that. All right, number 6. If you could create a comic book page about a moment from your own life, which moment would you choose and why? I don't think I would do that. I think that for me, I've spent all this time, you know, reading comic books or watching cartoons or something like that in an attempt to go into other imaginative worlds. So, like, my own life just isn't interesting enough to spend time developing a story on. I don't know if there's like any valuable lesson that I could impart from my own life in visually interesting enough way. So unfortunately, I don't think that's ever gonna occur in this timeline.
Thank you so much, Ben, for your time and for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it, and thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.